So we're set there. Come down here, refresh Facebook, make sure we're going on there. It is not popping up. TikTok is working. Facebook is working. We are live, Steve. How you doing?
I'm good, my man. I'm good. How about you?
Oh, I'm just wonderful. Well, let's jump right on into it. Well, Steve, how'd you get into derbying?
Our dad did it years ago. So I mean, we've been around derby since I could remember. I mean, my dad did it back in the 70s. So that was how we got started in it, and we haven't looked back. I mean, it's been derby since we were kids. So we derbied everything from Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels, to bikes, to big wheels, to shoe boxes. I mean, we've derbied everything.
So, out of you and all your brothers, who's the best derbyer?
Me. Me, they'll tell you that. Well, Mark might not, but Todd will tell you.
So
Mark's a cousin, but me and Todd are brothers, and Mark's our cousin.
So how many Cioppa brothers are there then?
Well, it's just me and Todd are brothers, but there's a lot of Cioppa boys. So, my grandmother had 5 sons, and then most of the grandchildren were boys. So I think it was only 3 girls out of the 5 boys, and the rest were, we had all boy cousins growing up. So it was all, we were real tight growing up.
Oh, sweet. So how old were you when you first started derbying then? Like in a car?
I was 20 years old when I did my first actual car. So
where was that at?
That was at New Alexandria.
So how many times have you ran New Alex, you think, then?
Oh, man, I can't even count. I mean, I've been running New Alexandria since 1990 every summer. So you do the math on that one. There was a couple years in the middle we missed because they kind of switched to 80s and newer at some point in the middle there, towards the end. And then, we were still in the old iron Imperials and Wagons and stuff. So we didn't there's a couple years we took off. But other than that, we've been at New Alexandria every summer since the 70s.
How many times have you won New Alexandria?
I got 5 championships. So I won 5 championships at New Alexandria. It features and heats. I couldn't even tell you.
So for those of you guys that don't know, I'm pretty sure the way New Alex works is they have 5 or I forget how many shows they have during the regular season. But then at the end of the year, if you qualify, I think 1, 2, 3, you get a championship spot, and then they have basically a championship at the end of the year.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
So how many years have they been doing that for?
They've been doing that since they started. I mean, it was always so back in the day, their heats used to go down to 1 car. So each heat was like a feature every night. So, first place got you into the championship, and then first place in the feature got you into the championship. First place in the heat got you in a championship. So they've been doing that format this is their 50th year they've been advertising. So 50 years they've been doing that same format. When it first started out, it was actually a rodeo. So the rodeo was like their big thing at first. And then they did derbies. Derbies were on Wednesday nights. So they did the derbies on Wednesday nights, and then all of a sudden the derbies grew bigger than the rodeo. The rodeo disappears, and now it's all derby.
So what exactly is New Alex? Is it like a fairgrounds? Or what is it technically?
It's a Lions Club. So all their proceeds, everything they make is donated. So they do a lot of, help for the community, playgrounds, they donate a lot to the blind, school of the blind, stuff like that. But, everything that they make is donated. It's a nonprofit organization. Everybody that works there is a volunteer. So nobody gets paid.
I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, it's been like that literally for 50 years.
So have they always had the huge tires as walls?
Always, from day one.
Have they ever had to change them or do anything like that?
I don't think. I mean, why would you? I think it's the best boundary. I mean, you can't get hung up on them. I mean, at some point throughout the years, the dirt accumulated, so the tires were a little lower in the ground, but now they dug it out. So I mean, you really can't get stuck. You're never battling the track at New Alexandria, which is a great spot.
True. And it's weird how strong those tires are, because I've been pushed into them and it tilted the front of the car up because they're so hard, but yet they bounce at the same time.
You would think that all those years they'd be dry rotted, but those are the same tires. They've been there forever. So I mean, they've literally been there since the show started, and the track is one of the most up close and personal. Like that little dirt walkway used to be the walkway, so now the bleachers are set back a little bit. So literally, there was 4 feet, and then the tires, and then that's how close the track was to the spectators. I mean, they used to say that, you're getting souvenir mud when the cars splash mud all over you.
So have they always had those same mud trucks that pull the cars in and out?
Always had the trucks pulling cars out. Never skid loaders. It was always the trucks just dragging them out.
What is there like a history behind that, or like what's the deal behind that?
I think it's just guys that would, that love their trucks and want to put them to the test and would just, drag them out. I mean, they volunteer their time too. I mean, that nobody gets paid in New Alexandria. It's kind of amazing what they do.
So I want to say the first time I ever went down in New Alexandria was the COVID year when there was so many cars there. You couldn't do anything there. There was cars everywhere.
Yeah.
Was that one of the biggest shows that's ever been held there, you think?
I think it was. Yeah. I know that our couple shows that we've had there were their biggest food sales, in their 50-year history. So but COVID year, they were, since they were nonprofit and they were privately owned, they elected to stay open, which is great, because not a lot of places would do that. And then, I think that's why the turnout was so great. I mean, it was something to do during COVID, because COVID was, it's all bullshit.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
Right.
Well, the internet just disagrees with you,
That's okay.
Which it is.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion.
You're not wrong. Well,
right.
So, out of all the places you've ran, Steve, what's some of your favorites?
Obviously, New Alexandria. Florida comes to mind. We had a couple good ones in Florida when we first started. We met J.C. Molly's Joe down there, and we went down and did a couple derbies in Florida, which were some of the funnest derbies we were ever in. Obviously, Bash for Cash comes to my mind. That was a good derby. There's a bunch of them out there.
So when I ask this question at basically in every interview I do, it's what's your favorite derby memory? Out of all the derby memories, which one of your favorites?
Probably winning my first championship in 1996 at New Alexandria. That was a good one. I had a full frame Imperial. Imperials were kind of dead at New Alexandria for a while. I mean, nobody was putting Chevy motors in them. I was the first to put a Chevy motor in the Imperial at New Alexandria, not period, but and then everybody kind of downplayed it, and I ended up winning the championship. So that was a good one. Our first Florida Derby was great. I always tell this story. It was fun. We had such a blast the first Florida Derby, because our derbies kind of evolved into almost what they are now, and then they were way behind the time, so we had a blast. It was just like a time warp, going back in time.
So you guys are putting on another show down there in Florida, right?
We are. We can't get enough of Florida. So Florida, we did it the first time down at Mosaic, and the track ended up being crappy. But this time we're going to haul the track in. We got a couple good guys. Chris DeFlorian's working on the track. He's going to build the track. So the track is not going to be an issue this time in Mosaic Arena. So I think that Derby could be, one of the bigger ones, just because of the destination alone. Like who doesn't want to go to 75-degree weather in February?
You're not wrong at all. Well, hold on. We live in the East Coast, so technically it probably was 75 and sunny in PA last week.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look at it today. Today it snowed here. It held here. it was actually ridiculous. And then the sun comes out, and then it snows again and hails again. It was just, and it's cold out today. So
it was a solid 65 up here. I was up at the park playing basketball a little bit ago before I came up here.
Yeah, right. Today was horrible. This is a Pittsburgh day. We get 4 seasons in one day.
So you're from Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, we're from Pittsburgh.
Out of all the states you've ran in, what's your favorite?
It's got to be Florida. I mean, there's something about Florida that nice weather, the sun. It's such a good spot. I love it. I can't get enough of Florida. I mean, Pittsburgh, obviously, New Alexandria. We love derbying at New Alexandria. We're going to be there all summer this year, derbying. We're doing Dead Man in a few weeks. That's not too far. It's only a 45-minute drive for us. I like the close ones.
You don't like the South Dakotas and the Kansases?
South Dakota's so far. But, I mean, South Dakota was great. I mean, it's such a cool venue. Everything was great about it. But, my God, is that far?
How far of a drive was it for you guys?
It was 22 hours.
Oh, wow.
22 hours.
Did you fly?
I flew, yeah.
So how does that work? When you fly, does Joey and Mark and Zach and everybody, do they just take the cars out there then?
No, me, Joey, and Zach. Lise actually flew, and then Mark Burrows, and there was a handful of other guys that drove the cars out. So some of the guys don't like to fly. I mean, Mark Burrows don't like to fly, so he said he'd rather drive. So
he likes to be with the cars because they're his babies, right?
Yeah, right. I just think he's scared to fly. He said after that Vegas flight, he said he's done flying. So I don't know if he had some choppy weather or some bumps, but he said he's done flying after the Vegas show.
So how far of a flight is it compared to a drive?
Oh, so we had a layover in Minnesota, so it was probably only 4.5 hours total on an airplane.
Yeah, I think I'll fly every day of the week on that trip. No, thank you.
Yeah, right. Same with Florida. Florida's, the drive from Florida from here, it's 19 hours. It's not any better, but it's such a better spot. I mean, I'll take Florida over South Dakota any day of the week.
So going from that, Steve, what's coming up in the future? Obviously, so what's Dead Man looking like? You guys are on a team for there, correct?
Yeah, we got a team show. We got the team. We got me, Joey Pernice, and Jack Drenovich. So it's the 2 young bucks, which I love, because I remember as being kids playing with their Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars while we were at the Derby track. So now I'm actually derbying on a team with them, which is kind of surreal, but it's going to be great. And I'm doing a super stock class also at Dead Man.
Fun. You take it. What's that?
I said I'm looking forward to Dead Man. It's going to be fun.
Are you taking a bird for super stock, or are you going to go keep your 03 from Palmetto?
I'm going to use the Palmetto car.
Wow. Are you going to miss the bird? I know you're a bird guy.
Of course I'm going to miss it, but when it's easier to just change a couple things up and, instead of putting one whole all back together, then yeah, the Crown Vic's the easy choice.
I know what you mean. So speaking of Palmetto, what happened to Palmetto, Steve?
I finally got the monkey off my back. I'm catching a lot of crap because they say I sandbagged, but I went into defense mode because I pretty much lost my steering maybe 15, 20 minutes into that derby. It was almost an hour long, but I mean, what are you going to do? I'm not going to pick fights with no steering. And listen, it worked out. So I don't care what the naysayers say.
Listen, no matter what you do, you're wrong at the end of the day.
What.
That's the way I look at it.
That's the only bad thing about the internet. Everybody gets an opinion, which some people don't deserve an opinion.
That's one way to take that. I mean, to be honest with you, in the past, I want to say since December, I've barely looked at Facebook, and I've been loving derbying. It's the greatest thing ever.
Right. I mean, the only thing good about the internet and Facebook is you get information about shows and you get a lot of information about derby, but just the bull crap that comes with it is it's crazy.
Does nobody just want to smash cars anymore, Steve?
I don't think. I don't think. I think that there's just such a. I don't know. I think it's just society in general. Everybody wants to cry about something nowadays. Just, who cares what this guy did? Just go out and do your thing. Don't worry about the next guy. It's the way I look at it.
Exactly. So real quick, going back to Palmetto, obviously you lost steering. That was what, the third time you ran that show?
Third time I ran it. Yes.
So what do you like Palmetto? Is it give us your thoughts on that show?
I think it's a great show. I mean, I think it's just one of the up and coming shows. There's really nothing bad about it. You go south for in the spring, so which is the weather's nice. The track was iffy the second year, but the first year and this year the track was fine. The track wasn't swallowing anybody up. It was definitely it's a fun derby. The rules are good. I mean, if I would have looked back, if I would have saw those rules maybe 6-7 years ago, because everybody was building, cars with full protectors and tranny braces and all that, and if I would have saw those, I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. But, I actually think derbies is kind of morphing back to the way it used to be. And those rules are, they're a great set of rules the cars are hard. They're not falling apart after 2 hits. It's a good derby. They got a good set of rules. They did that Humpty Dumpty class, which was all metric GMs. And I didn't put it together at first, Humpty Dumpty. So the humps dump out every metric GM. So that's, the name's brilliant. The class, it was one of the best classes of the weekend. It was a fun class to watch. But Palmetto's a good derby. So if nobody's tried it, or you're worried about the track or the rules, I definitely give it a try. Those guys got a good thing going down there.
The one thing that I think kills that show and every other show, it's the fact that there are 17 big shows in January for some reason.
Right.
Which, I don't know. I was talking to somebody not too long ago. It's like, do you feel like that was a big win? You've had some big wins. Do you feel like the value of a 10K win has gone down? You get the win, cool, but it doesn't mean as much as it used to.
I don't. I think it depends more or less on the competition. So, if that was only a $5,000 show, but the competition at that show is, there's some serious, good drivers, good builders. That's a tough show to win. I think it depends on the competition. So, if you win 10 grand with a 5 or 6 car heat, then that diminishes the win, in my opinion. But you go down to Palmetto and you do it's a $5,000 show and you win something like that, I think you accomplished something. So there was no slouches in that derby.
Oh, heat 2 was stacked. I was looking at the driver's list over the weekend. It was a great heat.
Yeah. Even the first heat. The first heat was, that was brutal. it was a good heat, but that's what I mean. If there's no easy shows, there are easy shows, but there's no, like that show, I don't consider an easy win. That was every bit of it was earned.
Awesome. So the reason I asked that question, Steve, is because when I was talking to Christopher Williams, I think I was at Capitol, I was somewhere. He was telling me that was the motive behind making the Wheelman National Qualifiers, is because he won a big show, and it's it didn't mean as much because there used to be only 3 shows. There used to be Mayhem, the Bash, and Blizzard Bash. So if you won those, you were the guy. So his goal with the Wheelman National Qualifier was to make something that basically said you're the guy.
Right.
So are you going to be competing in that, since obviously you got your nomination?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the plan. As soon as I heard that was a Wheelman qualifier, what am I going to do? Am I going to go as a mad dog, or am I going to try to win it? So the steering took a crap on me, so I had to go for the win. Luckily I got it. But yeah, I can't wait to go for the Wheelman. That's more my, the team shows are fun. We had a blast out at Gold Rush last year, but I like a single, one and done, no heat, no feature. That's right up my alley.
So you're not going to be on the team next year then? Well, this year then?
I am not going to be on a team. So we got the team is filled. We have the 4 guys on the team, but I'm going to do I'm going to concentrate on the Wheelman. So we'll go from there. See what happens.
Well, that's good. Fun. So going from that. So we were talking a little bit ago about like how you said Derby is going back to what it used to be. Do you like the heavier builds, like the full cradles, the Gold Rush cars, the Blizzard Bash cars, or do you like the stocker builds?
I like the stocker builds. I mean, that's what we cut our teeth on, the stocker builds. Like the Carolina Derby, that's a perfect set of rules. I like the super stock. I like, no full protectors. We're kind of scaling it back now. I'm actually going to probably do the motor swap class at New Alexandria, which is even the lower class, which, I'm sure a lot of people are surprised to hear that, but that's kind of what we grew up on.
So you like the nostalgic part of it then, and that gives it back to the driving style of it.
I do. Because I anybody could, put all the pressure on their car so they don't bend and this and that. And you got to know how to drive it. So
true.
And the lighter build, I think, brings out the driver in you. So that's what happened. So it was like 2018. I did, we were doing a lot of protector classes with, full pressure, trans braces, full cradles. And I did a local show. It was at our local fairgrounds, Westmoreland County Fairgrounds. And it was kind of a stock build. And it was an 80s car stock build. And man, it just brought back the whole driving aspect of derbies, which, I was missing for a while. Because, you go out there and just go crazy with a fully tanked up car, then you lose your driving skill, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. You get into these mod builds and you could also argue the fact that it becomes just basically a one part of the thing that's actually going to do any damage is suspension.
Right.
So is it harder to junk a whole car or take out suspension?
Right, exactly. I think that the lighter build just definitely brings out the driver in guys. That's why back in the day when it seemed like any time the New Alexandria drivers branched out, they all did well because that we were all drivers back in the day. So and obviously that's where we all got our driving skills was at New Alexandria. It was such a tough place to run back in the day.
So going to cars and going to builds, what's your go-to car? Is it a Ford? Is it a Bird? Is it a wagon? What's Steve's go-to car? Like if you could pick anything.
My favorite car is a 67.8 Chrysler Imperial.
Why is that?
They're brutal. I think they're dominant in every class. I mean, a lot of people won't agree. Everyone likes wagons and this and that, but the subframe Imperial is just the steering parts are behind the K-frame. Everything's protected. The fronts are just ridiculous. And if you like to drive forward, that's the car. But it takes some skill to keep the back end out of harm's way. They're the funnest cars to drive.
Huh.
Fun. You got to drive one time. You'll love it.
So driving an Imp compared to driving a Ford or a wagon, what are the main differences? Obviously, the fact that it's like this 30 feet long.
The Fords, these 2011s, they're growing on me. I mean, they're really good cars. I mean, I'm almost ready to sell all the old iron I got and just run these 2011 Crown Vics. The back ends are like nothing I've ever ran before. They're just ridiculous. If you like to drive backwards, the 11 Vics, I mean, they're two-ended, so you go forward and backwards with them. The steering's a little suspect, but you just got to drive better to keep it protected.
I completely agree. Those 9, 10, 11s they're super fun to drive. A lot of people don't like them because they just don't bend. But I mean, hey, that's not my problem,
This is about I think the third or fourth one I ran, and man, they do the same thing every time. So now I'm kind of figuring them out, and they're easy to build. They're cheap. That's the big thing. An Imperial's hard to build, but boy, when you build it and it's right, it's nasty.
So out of all your builds that you've built, what's the one that you remember the most?
I think it's the one in the picture there. That car was I think that was the baddest of the bad when we showed up with those Imperials at the Bash that year. It caused a big stir. They were nasty hard. And boy, I would have liked to have been even odds in that feature that night. That would have been great.
Well, it's Ohio, so that's not going to happen.
Right. Right. That's part of the game, right?
Well, it's different areas. You have good politics in different areas. It's like, go home, please.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, but it was still fun. But yeah, the Imperials in 2018 at the Bash, that Imperial was probably one of the baddest of the cars that ever come out of our shop.
So, what do you think you've ran more of, Imperials or Wagons?
Definitely Wagons. Definitely. I've probably been through at least in my years of Derby, and I bet I've been through 60 plus wagons, 70 wagons.
How many Imperials?
I would probably say probably 25, 30 Imperials. Full framers. It was always full framers. And then one time I seen subframers run at one of Tim Jumper shows, Destruction Productions, and I'm like, holy heck, the guys are using the front ends like there's no tomorrow on them. And I'm like, man, I'd like to try one. So I tried one. I had a 68 Forder Imperial that I actually had shipped all the way across country from the state of Washington. And it was for Jumper show, and ended up winning the show first time out in a subframe Imperial. And then I was hooked. Because it took a little getting used to at first, because we always drove back. Everything was going backwards. So it's a skill to drive backwards. We always drove backwards. So it was weird to just nose out the whole time. I found myself trying to turn around and go backwards with it, but that's a no-no in those cars because there's nothing back there.
Well, you're not wrong. Is that why you just cut them all off, Steve, and just let them flip?
Lessen the target. It's not for strength. It's not for anything, but we just make the target smaller. That's all we do. It doesn't do anything but make the target smaller.
So obviously there was the one you ran at, was that Blizzard Bash? Was that the same one you ran at King that took 3 years to run or 4 years to run?
Yeah. That motor's been locked down in that car since 2020. Yeah.
So when are you running that thing again this season, or what's the plans with it?
We're actually pulling it apart. I'm pulling it apart. Yeah. So the transmission is bad in it, and so we're going to pull it apart. And some cars are just good luck, and some cars are bad luck. So obviously that car is bad luck. So, and I'm superstitious, so I'm parting ways with it.
Oh my goodness! So let's read let's go through the chat here. A few things. See what anybody's saying. What did you think of the first night at Palmetto with the 80s and newer engine swaps? That's what Kyle Baker said.
That was, every heat down there was good. That's what I mean. That Derby is, that's one of the up and coming derbies. It's the arena's great, the venue's great, everything. The hotels around it, there's food, restaurant. It's such a cool little spot. But yeah, the heats. The drivers show up and show out for that show. It's, like I said, it paid $5,000, but who cares when it's just a fun show like that.
So Steve, Will Close told me to ask you, how many retaining wall blocks have you ran into pulling onto the track? One
time I did that. The Gold Rush, they had the damn spotlight completely blinded me. I couldn't see anything. I should have just stopped and said, cut the spotlight out. But yeah, the spotlight was completely blinding me. So I kept going like a moron and ended up hitting the blocks coming into the arena in the feature Gold Rush. I look like a schmuck.
So speaking of Gold Rush, you've ran obviously Blizzard Bash or Gold Rush. Which one's better?
I think Gold Rush is better because I think it's a better venue. It's a better atmosphere. They're pretty much the same derby. It's the same guys, same group of guys, nasty cars, hard track, fast track. They're both good derbies, but I would lean towards Gold Rush because the venue is just a better venue. It's just with the club and we had those seats, all you can eat and drink, which was, it was crazy. It was great.
So what ended up taking you guys out in the feature out there? Because
Rhett's batteries blew up, I believe. I think Toast blew a transmission, and I guess I got timed out, and Joey just got his ass handed to him. So I don't know why they said I guess I didn't make a hit in time. I don't know. They had a real fast clock on me, but it's one of those things. That one left a sour taste in my mouth because, we were so close to that win and we didn't get it. Man, that's tough.
So speaking of your team, how did you guys come together? Because you guys have ran those style shows for at least a couple, 3-4 years now.
A couple years. We were a Blizzard Bash team at first, and then I got, we didn't run the Imperial that year, so they were, 3 guys. I met Toast years ago, but I was on Team Kansas a couple of times at Blizzard Bash. That's how I met all these guys. And then, we had our own team from the spot I saved that year when I got gang raped in that one heat. There was like 11-on-1 or something like that. So we had a team ever since then. So, we got Toast on board, and then we got Red on board. And then Joey Joey's a good team driver. So Joey's a good addition to the team.
So speaking of Joey, how did he come into the Cioppa family?
We met Joey. So my middle daughter and Joey are the same age. So they were in 3-year-old preschool together. And we didn't know that they actually lived down the street from us. So we met them at 3-year-old preschool, and then we're talking, and all of a sudden we find out they lived down the street from us. And I used to build my cars in my backyard. So I used to build derby cars literally in my backyard up the street from where Joey lived. And then his dad and Joey used to come up and, hang out by the cars, and Joey just got hooked on it. He was a kid, young kid, and just got hooked on it. That's what I mean. He used to play with his Matchbox cars. Now now we're on the same team. I love it.
So how long has Joey been running for then?
Joey's been running. So Joey did his first derby. It was a compact where I ran shotgun with Joey. I forget what year that was. It was actually over in Carrollton, Ohio, where we did that derby. I forget what year it was, but so that was Joey's first derby. So I ran shotgun in a compact, and that was the only compact that my ass ever sat in, and I'll never do it again.
What's so bad about compacts, Steve?
Oh, it's just every you feel every hit. There's no giving those cars. They're just like they're not fun, and especially being in the passenger side. I mean, I'm pressing pedals that weren't there when he was driving. It was kind of wild.
Have you ever ridden a youth since then, or no?
Yeah, I did full size youth with Jack Drenovich. I did a couple. I did one with Preston Henshaw. Yeah, I like when the young bucks get into it. So it's just going to keep it alive, keep the sport alive.
Speaking of the young bucks, where do you see the future of derbying going?
I don't know. I mean, if it keeps up with the drama and everything, I see it falling by the wayside, just going pretty much just to county fairs someday again. But I mean, the drama needs to stop. It's crazy, It's the internet. The internet ruined derbies. It helped it and ruined it at the same time.
I was talking to somebody the other day, and we had this idea. What if we all just went back to We Crash?
Right.
Think about it. What's a better idea than that?
Yeah, We Crash. I loved We Crash.
Whatever happened to We Crash?
That was good. It evolved. It evolved into this. I mean, that's what happens. Everything evolves. Look at derbies, how it, went from just, welding the doors shut, knocking the windows out and going. But now look at it. Everything evolves. Sometimes it evolves into self-destruction. But I mean, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it, I don't think we're ever going to run out of cars. With the Crown Vics coming onto the scene, there's so many of them out there. At one point when it was just the 70s iron, I could see it falling by the wayside, because no cars are left. But now that, the 80 and newer cars and the Crown Vics come into the scene. So I think it'll be around in that sense for a long time. But I don't know, the drama just needs to slow it up a little.
Which, I completely agree with you, but I don't really see it going away because at the end,
I don't.
Here's what I think happened, Steve. I think derbying became because let's be honest, if you're a derby guy, it's your life. It consumes everything.
It's a drug, yes.
So when it consumes your life, it's hard not to just be salty and be envious of everyone around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, you can be like that, but you don't got to throw stones. You don't got to knock one guy down to make yourself feel better. I mean, that's what pretty much happens. You get a guy that doesn't do well, and then he's going to knock the next guy down because I don't know. I think he's insecure with himself or something. I don't know. It's hard to analyze it.
None of it makes sense, Steve. Derbying does not make sense.
It does not.
Which, I mean,
from the outside world looking in, I mean, people probably think we're the craziest, goofiest.
Which are we? I was doing this not too long ago. I was thinking about this when I was driving. I was driving on some trip, and it's kind of like, are we a bunch of, I know I used to take offense to when somebody's like, you guys are just a bunch of dumb rednecks, but are derby people just a bunch of dumb rednecks?
Absolutely not. I was just saying this down in South Carolina that, if the shit hits the fan and the world starts to go sour, I want all derby dudes in the group because we'll get through it. Derby dudes are just, they know how to think on the fly. I mean, it's just a different way of thinking. I don't know. I think that they're not dumb rednecks by any means. No, I mean, look at the innovation on the cars. Everything is engineered not to bend. There's certain things on the car that just, you put it here so this doesn't bend. It's just crazy. Like, I think derby guys are brilliant, actually.
Perfectly said.
I do.
So, going off of that, let's see here. Read a few comments here. Lucas, I think Weedsman asked if you're going back to if you're going to be going back to the King of Ohio.
I actually signed up for King, but I'm not going back because I got 2 cars sitting there that I could run at King, but it's fresh cars only, which I totally understand. It's such a, it's a bigger show. You should have all fresh cars at it. I get it, but I can't see putting a third one. I call them 8,000-pound flower pots sitting in the garage because I got 2 of them sitting there. I got a Gold Rush car that could, with a little tweaking, could be run at King, and I got my Imperial that I would put a transmission in and run it at King, but I can't put a third one together because pretty much everything's tied up in those 2 cars, and it's just tough.
Yeah, I got one sitting in a truck box right now that's with nothing to do with it.
Right, exactly.
But it is what it is, Steve.
Yeah, I got 3 cars sitting in the shop that I can't run anywhere right now.
So Ryan Pletcher Jr. asked, who are the best drivers back in the day?
Best drivers around our area back in the day would be my cousin Mark was good. Dan Trent was a good driver. Gary Sanders. I mean, it was all these good drivers from back in New Alexandria that were, like I said, they could go anywhere and win a show just because of all the competition we had at New Alexandria.
Fun. So a few people have asked this comment. What are your thoughts on Demo and Bristol?
I think Bristol's going to – I mean, it's a good concept. I think he's getting a lot of bad press on the internet. There you go. The internet, again, is doing its thing, which is crazy. But, I mean, if it works out, I think it could be great for Demolition Derby. I guess we'll have to see what happens. I was asked multiple times to be a part of it, but we already had plans. I mean, it was kind of late when that developed, so we already had plans going on. So we do Halloween Horror Nights down at Universal Studios every October, and that just happens to be that weekend. But yeah, I don't know. There's some stacked teams. I think it's going to be fun to watch. That's for sure. Just to see how it unfolds.
So
we'll see how the NASCAR guys act when their tracks get Trashed. I mean, Derby's brutal on everything. There's not a good tool in the garage, because if anybody ever wants to test anything out, tool wise, parts wise, give it to a Derby guy, and we'll put it to the test. Everything gets trashed.
Speaking of Derby parts and Derby tools, what's your favorite? If you had to pick one Derby part to build a car with, what is it? You get one aftermarket modification.
I want my SMW pedals. I like the SMW pedals, because I didn't know this, but I guess I'm a rarity. I drive with 1 foot. I don't know if everybody drives with 2 feet from what I'm understanding. And I can put the SMW pedals close enough that I drive with 1 foot, and my left foot stays off to the left, to the side.
Yeah, I'm driving. I got 1 foot. Well, I will take that back. When I ran stick shift at the Bash, I kind of had to use 1 foot for the gas and the brake. But usually I'm 1 foot on the brake, 1 foot on the gas.
Yeah, everybody in my crew, they drive with 2 feet. So I drive like I'm driving a normal car with 1 foot.
You ever run stick shift or anything like that, Steve?
Not in a Derby, no. It's too much. There's too much. That's you got to be fast with good hand-eye coordination to run a stick. That's a little
like that's exactly what I thought before I did it. But like it's honestly fun. Yeah, it's really kind of hard to get used to. But like once if you're good with like actual just regular driving stick shift, you'll be fine with it.
Right.
But I know it sounds like a lot of extra work in there, but like you really don't mind it until it's the end of the night and your left foot's on fire. But other than that, it's not too bad.
I'll stick with the automatics.
Oh, I'd much rather take them. My dad was running 3 speeds and 5 speeds for years, and I'm just until I did it. I still think it's dumb. Just give me an automatic. It's easy.
Yeah, it's easy. Take some of the thinking out of it. You got too much other shit to think about when you're in there.
So let's see here. Going from that. Is there any more info on the Florida show? Is what somebody asked. Let's see.
Well, the registration is going to open up in August, 6 months out from the show. So August the 8th, it's going to open up. We have 3 classes so far. We got the most wanted class. We have our light weld class and the super stock, which is the iron class. And we got 2 more classes we're going to fill. So we're kind of leaning, after watching that Humpty Dumpty class down in Carolina, I talked to those guys, and we're thinking about a 2-man extreme Humpty Dumpty class, which would be different. So that might be the 4th, and then we'll have to figure out a 5th one and go from there.
Have you ever ran a 2-man extreme?
Not yet. Joey wants to do it, so one day we're going to do it.
That just seems like one of them things where unless I'm in there with somebody that I drive exactly alike, I don't think it'll work out well.
Yeah, right. Me and Joey have similar styles. I mean, Joey's good, so I think we'd be good in the. I mean, we'd have to flip a coin as who's going to take the steering wheel and who's going to take the pedals. But I definitely want to try it one time because it looks like a blast.
What would you rather have, the steering wheels or the pedals?
I want the steering wheel. I want to be in control.
I completely agree. My thing is, I don't like driving on the back of a 4-wheeler. Like I want to have everything in my control. Like that's why I will never run in a youth car with anybody, because it's like you have no control.
Oh yeah, I know all about it. Like I said, I'm hitting pedals that aren't there when I'm in there with the guys. So a 2-man extreme, it's just something different. It's just a twist to our thing we do. So I want to try it out one time.
So going back to you and Joey, who's the better derbier?
Oh my God, me. Taught him everything he knows.
Oh, that's awesome. So do you and Joey have good chemistry out on the track together?
We do. Yeah. Yeah. Me and Mark have good chemistry on the track because me and my cousin Mark, we've been derbying together for forever. So when me and Mark are on the track, we have great chemistry. So, that last year's New Alexandria Championship, it come down to me and Mark. And the only reason, we didn't battle it out longer because his transmission ended up cracking. But we'd have probably went at it for 45 minutes easily.
So obviously, since you have brothers and a bunch of family in derbying, do you think the competition between the brothers and the family, do you think that's made you a better derbier in the long run?
Absolutely. Yeah, when it comes down to us, we don't hold back. We put it on each other, because I don't want to hear shit talking for the next, 6 months that what Mark did or Todd did. One time we were in there, come down to me, Mark and Todd, and they double teamed me. And they put it on me too. So I ended up getting third in that one.
So speaking of the competition level, do you think the competition level in derbying is like increased over the past few years, or do you think it's starting to go away where everybody's just relying on politics, but nobody wants to derby it out anymore?
I think it's increased. I mean, I think that a lot of guys, there's a lot of guys that just still do it just to go out and smash a car, but there's a lot of guys that want to perfect it. Like, take South Carolina, for instance, that was a good derby as far as drivers go. Like, there was a lot of good drivers in them 2 heats. Like, and it wasn't a tanked up car where you have to rely on the car, who has the best car. Everybody was pretty much on an equal playing field, even playing field. But, there was a lot of good drivers in them 2 main car heats. The big car heats, even in the other classes, it was good.
So Nick King keeps coming in here in the comments section. How did you get to know Nick King?
I met Nick at the inspection line at Bash for Cash. It was the year I had a wagon and I ended up getting stuck on the wall, but that's where we met Nick for the first time. And then he was actually ended up in Florida where he come down and JC Molly's had a couple cars, and that's where we really connected down in Florida. But yeah, I met him in the inspection line. He was inspecting cars at Bash for Cash.
Do you got any cool Nick King stories?
That's a cool one because he thought he knew what he was doing with the cars, and he didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground with especially a 70s GM wagon. He didn't know what he was looking at. And he still doesn't. But, Nick's one of the best guys you could ever have on your side. He's such a good dude. He's fun.
Oh, I've never heard that. Wait.
But, so, we were at a derby in Florida, and he was running one of Joe's cars, and he literally – he almost killed a guy. It was the craziest. It was just a fun. That's why Florida is one of the best places to derby. Just go to one of their county fairs one time. You're gonna have a blast. It's so old school.
Is it just like It's just everything so behind the times? It's just like knock the windows out and go, or what's it like?
That's exactly what that's how the most wanted class come about. So we were down there one time for a derby, and we were all talking and I said, let's put a show on like Florida. It was like the Florida. I initially called it the Florida potluck class because there are derbies down there. There was actually a full frame Imperial in there with compacts. I mean, that's because they don't get enough cars and they just throw everything together. And the compacts actually won. So I said we need to do a derby like that. Almost like a sideshow type thing, but. Put everything in one heat, then we toned it down to like little cars, mini trucks, 80s and newer. Like I wouldn't put Imperial in a most wanted up here, because then you get one guy that knows what he's doing and everything gets junked on the track. But that's how that class come about. And then, Sowers was obviously with us. And so that's what we named it, the most wanted fine art class, which really took off.
So if you were going to run the most wanted fine art class, what would you run?
I'm running a metric GM.
Why?
Well, only because that's what I know. I mean, I'll find one with a old small block Chevy, like a 267, whatever, like a small block Chevy in it. We used to weld the washers on the shifter, column shifter linkages. So, I mean, I know how to make that car run. And, I know it's not going to be the strongest car on the track, but that's just the one I know how to drive.
Would you ever run a front wheel drive?
No.
Why?
I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Nothing against those guys, but that's just not my cup of tea. I'm not going to run a truck. I'm not going to run anything but a full-size car.
Not even. What if derbying goes to only trucks? We run out of cars and it's just Super Duties.
That's when I sit back and watch you guys do it.
Oh, you're telling me you wouldn't run a truck?
I don't want to run a truck.
Why not? Why wouldn't you run a truck, Steve?
I don't know. I just don't. I just grew up in the car, just the passenger cars. I mean, I don't know. It's not that I frown upon them. I'm not going to do it.
I get what you're saying. Dave Diver asked, do you still have any big rock cradles left?
I do. I use it. I use it all the time.
Steve,
just the lower cradle. I have 3 big rock rear ends still. I had 4 at one point. I have 3 big rock rear ends that I still run to this day. They were ahead of their time. They had some good parts back in the day.
So what's your go-to full cradle then? A ski, I'm guessing?
No, I got all Ingram full cradles. So I have 2 full cradles and they're both Ingram.
What makes his cradle the best, do you think?
Well, I don't know how I become about to just someone else had an Ingram. I looked at it and I'm like, man, it's real clean. It was nice. And I think it was before even Ski maybe had theirs out. And the motor bolted in perfect. There was no drilling the holes, no trying to ream the holes so it fit in it. And the Ingram cradles worked great. And I had the Ingram tranny braces.
Ingram everything then.
I did. Well, I still do, yeah. But that's what's in my Gold Rush car and that Imperial, both Ingram full setups. Yep.
Fun. So let's see here. Somebody asked, are you coming to the expo this weekend?
I am not. No. Too much going on this weekend. My wife and daughters are actually down in Florida, so I got 4 dogs I got to take care of.
Why aren't you in Florida then, Steve?
Because I got 4 dogs to take care of.
So I wanted to have you on sooner. So I'm guessing you have a house in Florida then and you stay there during the winter, right?
Yeah, I was just down there for 6 weeks. So that's what we were down there, finalizing the deal for the Mosaic. So that was one of the big things that we wanted to make sure that we could store the clay that we're buying on site, which, they're all in. So they enjoyed when we did the Derby down there back in 2020. So, they want us to do it again, but we just couldn't ask guys to travel, 1,500 miles to get stuck in the sand. But, we're going to fix that. So, I think the Derby, it's just going to be a one-day show for the first year. And then, if all goes well, then we're going to open this up. So, plan a vacation, you got an hour each way, each coast. You go to the East Coast to the beach or go to the Gulf Coast, or, you got Disney and Universal and Busch Gardens, Gatorland. There's so many different, it's the best destination Derby in the country. I know there's, bigger derbies obviously, but nothing's like Florida when it comes to actual family vacation. And you could Derby at the same time.
Oh, I know we rented a house somewhere down there. I don't know where, but I know we rented a house. We're going to the Derby, and then the week after, we're staying somewhere. Where, I don't know, though.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's such a, plus, February in Florida is better than February in Pittsburgh by, a long shot.
So what's the main classes going to be for down there?
Probably the super stock will be the main class, and the light weld will be they're probably going to be equal. The light weld's a pretty good class. I enjoy that build too. It's kind of what New Alexandria rules are now. It's, no hump plates, 2x6 bumper brackets, 2 of them, but it's just a lighter build altogether. And then our super stock is a creative build. Still no full protectors. There's some creative stuff with bumper bracket and down legs and stuff like that. But it's those are my favorite rules. Our super stock they're great, but it's pretty heavy build though.
So is that going to be a heats and feature show or just a one run and done?
All one shot deals. So if you want to bring 2 cars and do both, that's your choice.
So obviously, you guys at Iron City, the last time you guys did a heats and features show, I want to say was the COVID year, right? Or was
I think it was. Maybe it was all one-shot deals, wasn't it? I know we used to do the 2-man team show down in Florida, and that was heats and a feature. But again, it was it was hard to find a good track in Florida. I mean, I watched the guys doing at their county fairs, and it's just sand. It's just crazy.
So, what makes you guys do one run and done instead of heats and features?
I think it's easier for everybody. It's easier for you don't have to bring the whole garage with you. I mean, when you're traveling to Florida, we want it to be your vacation, and then Derby at the same time. You don't have to bring the whole shop with you, so you bring your car and your torches, and that's it. I think it's always going to be one run and done down in Florida because I think it's easier for the guys when they want to come down.
You're not wrong at all. Let's see.
No, it's a good
things here.
Book your vacation now.
Fun. Well, it's not even a vacation for you. You just got to drive 10 minutes down the road, go to the Derby, and then go home.
It's an hour away from the house.
That is not bad at all.
Not bad at all. No.
So, Steve, what's your favorite part about Demolition Derby?
I like, just like when we were at South Carolina, I like, the BS and you do with all the Derby guys. I mean, it's the camaraderie. It's such a good vibe when you're at a Derby. It's the internet that kind of ruins it. But when you're at an actual Derby, I think everybody is, everybody's there to have fun. Everybody's there to win. Everybody's there to smash some stuff. I mean, everybody's on the same. That's what I like about it. I like the competition. I'm real competitive, so I like I like competition. I run towards it instead of away from it.
That's exactly how it should be.
Yeah.
Before I ever met you, Steve, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't like you. I don't know why I didn't like you.
I get that a lot. I don't know why. I'm, because I kind of know why. Because when I'm at a Derby, I keep to myself. I don't never go look at anybody's car. I could care less what you did to your car. I don't look at anybody's car. If you come up to me, I'll talk to you for hours. But I'm not. I think that's what it is. I don't walk around and look at cars and try to BS to look at their car. I don't know. I do get a bad rap, and I don't know why.
I think that's exactly it. Because the first time I think I ever talked to you, I want to say it was Buried Alive. It was the year you rolled me, basically.
Right.
So we draw the same heat, and I'm just like, well, I know of everybody in this heat, so let's go talk to Steve's. And that was the first time I ever talked to you. And since then, great guy. I don't know why I thought you were such a bad guy. You're a great guy.
I don't know. People, but I don't know what it. I get a bad. I don't know. People. There's a lot of haters. It's the internet. The internet causes that. But I get a lot of haters because everybody thinks I got all this money and I buy this, I buy that. We started from nothing. I used to work on my own cars in my backyard, building I used to wait till the rain would stop to uncover it to work on it and build it right in my driveway in the backyard. People think I have a silver spoon in my mouth. And me and Todd, we got all this money, but we both started our business from scratch. Our dad worked in the mill. He was a cop. So we didn't come from money. What we did, we created ourselves. So, if you want to knock me for that, go ahead, knock yourself out. But that's a lot of the bad rap too. I see guys saying, well, he doesn't build his own cars. Well, I did build my own cars. Now I'm in a position I don't have to build them. So, and if you were in that position, you would like it too. So what are you going to do? You can't win no matter what. You're not going to please everybody. So I just roll with the punches. I just go with the flow. I rarely answer. I answered on your one text today on your when you put the video up and you said I rolled you. One guy was, it wasn't that I was answering him because of me. I was answering because he started to put a black eye on Carolina's Derby, which was a great Derby. So it shouldn't have a black eye. That's the only reason I answered to that post, because when you start making the promoter look bad for absolutely no reason, and it was uncalled for, and you don't know the whole story, then I'm going to call you out on it.
I know what you mean, which it's just, that's how people are, you know.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's the shit. That's the stuff that's ruining derbies. Like, you know, but I mean, I guess you're always going to have that now with, you know, with this format. So,
which here's where I think everything changed is because, like, prime example, I've sent every time I look at my phone, there's some NBA player, some like NFL player, something, and like you look, it's a post, something, somebody said LeBron's better than Jordan or something like that, and there's just thousands and thousands of replies.
Right.
But, and that's just how everybody expresses their opinion now. So, like, they forget that, like, we're not celebrities. We're people. Like, we're not making billions of dollars a year and never looking at our phones.
I'm like you. I'm like the next guy. I'd like to smash cars, and that's what we do. That's, you know, it's not, you know, I never toot my horn. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I just, you know, we're all in this for the same thing. It's an adrenaline rush. We like to have fun, and you know, it's just a drug. I'm hooked on it.
It's a crazy drug. Derbying will make you do stuff you never thought you'd do. You know?
That's what I mean. I talk to these guys that say, "Oh, I'm selling everything. I quit." I'm like, "Yeah, you'll be back." And sure enough, they're back. You know, just don't sell your stuff, because then it don't cost you triple when you buy it back. Because you're always going to come back no matter what. You know, Todd quit for a little bit. He retired a couple, you know, I think it was a year ago. So he's been off. Todd has 3 cars. He's going to be back at New Alexandria this year. So you cannot get it out of your system. It's like, it's crazy.
Like it's what I've noticed is, like, when I stop on Facebook and I stopped like engaging in everything, either one of two things happen. I'm loving it, or I'm like, yeah, we can do this later. I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know.
Right.
But then somebody will call you and be like, "You ready for the bash?" And then you're ready for the bash.
Yeah, get your blood flowing. I know what you mean. It's so hard not to. That's why I said I've derbied every summer. Never took one summer off since 1990. Every single summer, I've derbied.
You know, like I was sitting. So I was getting my super stock car done over the weekend, and I'm just sitting in that thing on Monday, just thinking to myself, "This is going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm excited to go derbying."
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I couldn't wait for the South Carolina Derby to come. You know, now it's gone, and so now we got Dead Man coming up, and then right after that, we're going to River City Rampage. We're running Toast Show.
What are you guys taking out to River City Rampage?
96 Lincoln.
Ooh, fun.
Toast rules are really old school, so you can't touch it. It's been so long since we built a car where you couldn't touch the body mounts, take the body off the frame to build it, which I enjoy it because it's old school.
So when you're building cars, do you always wear the same clean white T-shirt?
I do sometimes. You know, sometimes I'll switch it up just what my mood feels. I had the white T-shirt underneath my long sleeve T-shirt at the Carolina Derby. Yeah, it got a little cool up there at night, so I had to put a long sleeve on.
Oh, you gotta love it. Fun. So, what all shows do you guys have planned on the agenda for this year, then, Steve? Other than River City Rampage, Total Madness.
Yeah, we got the Dead Man show, and then Toast, and then we're going to run at New Alexandria all summer, and then obviously we're going to go to run the Wheelman in South Dakota, and then before that we'll find something pops up. We'll see what happens. I got a lot of flower pots sitting in the garage that need ran.
I feel you, Steve. I love having. My problem is I like running hard cars, but nobody likes running hard cars. So I kind of just have a bunch of hard cars that are flower pots.
It's kind of wild how it's starting to go backwards now. Every for a while there was hard cars, full protectors, trans braces, the works, and it's kind of, I like how it's going backwards a little bit. I mean, that's I don't mind it.
Which I like how it's getting back to harder cars, at least in the Ohio area, which to each their own,
Yeah.
Which, let's see here. Well, there's Steve. We're just about we passed the hour mark. I think it's time to wrap this thing up here. You got anything else you want to say before we get off here? Any announcements or anything like that?
No. Just we got the Florida show coming up in February. You know, that belt that's behind you, those are going to be. That's what the winner's going to get. You know, we hand out the championship belts. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for now. I mean, you know, just the couple shows we're going to do, and we're just having fun.
Where did the championship belts come from, Steve?
So when we originally did the 2-man team show, they were like the tag team champions, you know. So we figured, you know, let's do belts instead of trophies. So that's how that, you know, it was a wrestling thing. So instead of trophies, we did the 2 tag team champion belts, which I enjoyed that 2-man team. You know, watching it, it was good. You know, 4 cars on a track just duking it out. It was fun to watch.
Awesome. Well, there's Steve. I think I'm going to get off of here, my man. Thank you for coming in. Thank you guys for watching.
Yep.
Yeah. If your guys are coming to the expo, demoderbyexpo.com is where you can find all your information for that. The PayPal link for Crashing for Kids Cancer is in the bio of this live, I believe. Yeah. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Steve, thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you at Total Madness. Should be awesome.
It's going to be a good time.
I sure do hope so. Awesome. Thank you, guys. We shall see you on the next one.
All right, my man. Take it easy.
Yep, you too.
See ya.
See you. Bye.